Right now, there are two versions of you. One is comfortable. One is afraid. One makes excuses. One makes progress. And every single day, you're choosing between them. The things 99% of people avoid, the cold calls, the early mornings, the rejection, the failure, the hard conversations, these are not obstacles. They are the pathway. They are the only thing standing between you and the top 1%. This is not motivational fluff. This is not inspiration you'll forget by tomorrow. This is a system, a protocol, a way to reprogram your brain so that discipline becomes automatic, so that doing the hard thing becomes easier than avoiding it. By the end of this audiobook, you will know exactly how to force yourself to do what 99% cannot. Are you ready? Chapter 1. The 1% are not special. They just refuse to quit. Listen to me. Right now, you're about to hear something that will either liberate you or terrify you. Probably both. The top 1% of performers, the people crushing their goals, building empires, transforming their lives, they are not superhuman. They're not genetically gifted. They were not born with special DNA that makes discipline easier or motivation automatic. That's not why they win. That's a lie you've been telling yourself to justify why you're not winning yet. Here's the truth. The 1% are not special. They just refuse to quit. That's it. That's the entire secret. No mysticism. No hidden genetic code. No magical motivation fairy that visits their bedroom at night. They simply decided that quitting was no longer an option, and then they built their entire life around that decision. And you can too. But first, you need to understand exactly what separates them from the 99%. Because once you understand the mechanism, you can replicate it. And replication is transformation. The myth of talent and genetics. Let me tell you about Tony Fadell. You probably don't know his name, but you know what he built. He invented the iPod. He invented the Nest thermostat. He's a billionaire. And here's what most people don't know about Tony Fadell. He was rejected constantly in the beginning. He pitched his idea for a small portable music device to every major tech company in the world. Sony said no. Philips said no. Real Networks said no. Compaq said no. Everyone said no. For years. Was he more talented than the engineers at those companies? No. Was he smarter? No. Was he more gifted? Absolutely not. The difference was one thing. When everyone else was saying this won't work, he was saying, I'm doing it anyway. They don't feel like it either. They do it anyway. Let me give you another example. Oprah Winfrey. You know her name. You know her success. But do you know her story? She was told she was unfit for television. The news director said she was unfit for TV news. She was told her voice was wrong, her appearance was wrong, her entire presence was wrong. She was fired from her first job, and then fired again, and then again. She wasn't born with a special talent for being on television. She was told she had no talent at all. But here's what's crucial. When she was rejected, she didn't spiral into despair. She didn't wait for motivation. She didn't tell herself, well, I guess I'm not meant to do this. She did the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, without waiting to feel ready, without waiting to feel motivated, without waiting for someone to give her permission. This is not an exception. This is the pattern. Every single person in the 1% has a story exactly like this. They were told no. They were rejected. They felt fear. They felt doubt. They felt unmotivated. And they moved anyway. You have a choice. You can believe that these people are special, that they were born different, that they have something you don't. And if you believe that, you're off the hook. You don't have to try. You don't have to risk failure. You don't have to endure rejection. You can just stay comfortable and tell yourself you weren't born with the right genes. Or you can accept the brutal truth. The only thing they have that you don't is a decision. A decision that says, I am doing this, not because I feel like it, not because I'm motivated, not because I'm guaranteed to succeed, but because I decided to. They don't feel like it either. They do it anyway. Why waiting for motivation is killing your future. The 99% are waiting. Right now, they're waiting for motivation. They're waiting for the perfect time. They're waiting for the perfect mood. They're waiting for conditions to align. They tell themselves, when I feel more confident, I'll make the call. When I feel more creative, I'll start the project. When I feel more energetic, I'll go to the gym. When I feel more motivated, I'll finally begin. And they're still waiting. 5 years later, they're still waiting. 10 years later, they're still waiting. Your boss doesn't care how you feel. Your competitor doesn't care how you feel. Your future doesn't care how you feel. The world is completely indifferent to your emotional state. Markets don't wait for you to feel ready. Opportunities don't delay themselves because you're not in the right headspace. Life doesn't pause while you get motivated. Let me tell you about a man named David Goggins. Goggins was overweight. He was depressed. He was living in his mother's basement at 24 years old. By every measure, he was unmotivated. But he made a decision. He decided to join the Navy SEALs. Not because he felt like it. Not because he was motivated. But because he decided. And once he decided, the motivation didn't come first. The action came first. He started running. Did he feel like it? No. He had shin splints. He had stress fractures. He had pain that would make most people quit. But he ran anyway. Because he didn't earn the right to feel motivated by waiting around. He earned the right to feel motivated by moving. This is the pattern you need to understand. Action creates motivation. Motivation does not create action. The 99% have it backward. They think, first I'll feel motivated, then I'll act. The 1% know the truth. First I'll act, then I'll feel motivated. You know what happens when you make that first cold call, even though you're terrified? You don't feel less terrified, but you feel something else. You feel like someone who makes cold calls. You feel like someone who acts despite fear. And that feeling, that identity shift, becomes your fuel. That becomes your motivation. But it only happens after you move. Here's what I want you to understand right now. You don't need to feel like it. You don't need to be motivated. You don't need to be in the perfect mood. You don't need the perfect conditions. You need a decision. You don't earn the right to feel motivated. You earn it by moving. That's not motivational fluff. That's physics. That's how the human nervous system actually works. That's how your brain actually rewires itself. The person at the top 1% is not more motivated than you. They're more decisive. They chose to move before they felt like moving. And then they moved again. And then again. And somewhere around the 7th repetition, their brain adapted. Their nervous system recalibrated. And suddenly, what was terrifying became manageable. What was hard became normal. What required enormous willpower became automatic. You have the same capacity. Every single one of you listening to this right now has the same neurological hardware. The only difference is in the software, in the decisions you've made. The decision that changes everything. There is one moment. One single moment where the 1% diverge from the 99%. It's not when they start feeling more motivated. It's not when they get lucky. It's not when the perfect opportunity arrives. It's the moment when they decide that avoidance is no longer an option. This is not positive thinking. This is not affirmations. This is not vision boarding or manifestation. This is something far more powerful. This is a hard line drawn in the sand. This is a decision that says, I am doing this. Not because I want to. Not because I feel like it. But because I have decided. When you make that decision, something shifts in your brain. It's subtle, but it's real. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for executive function, for discipline, for overriding impulses, is activated. Your brain stops negotiating with you. It stops offering you escape routes. It stops whispering reasons to wait. Sarah, a woman, was terrified of public speaking. Absolutely petrified. She had turned down promotions because they required presentations. She had avoided networking events. She had organized her entire life around not having to speak publicly. For 20 years. And then one day, she made a decision. Not a wish. Not a goal. A decision. She said, I am going to give a presentation next month. To a room full of people. And I'm not canceling it. The moment she made that decision, something changed. She didn't suddenly feel confident. She didn't suddenly feel comfortable. But she became someone different. She became someone who would do it anyway. Decision precedes discipline. Discipline creates destiny. Once you make a decision like that, the game shifts. Because now you're not trying to motivate yourself anymore. You're not trying to convince yourself. You're not wondering if you should or shouldn't. The question is closed. You've decided. Now you're just executing. Now you're just showing up. This is what you need to understand about the 1%. They're not smarter than you. They're not more talented. They're not more gifted. They're more decisive. They decided, and then they didn't reconsider. They didn't reopen the question. They didn't negotiate with themselves. They just moved forward. And here's the beautiful part. Once you make that decision, once you cross that threshold, the brain actually becomes your ally. Because the human brain loves consistency. Once you've decided something, once you've declared it, your entire nervous system mobilizes to make that true. It's called cognitive consistency. It's a real neurological force. And the 1% have learned to weaponize it. So the question I'm asking you right now is simple. What decision are you willing to make? Not what goal. Not what dream. What decision? Because a decision is different. A decision is final. A decision is, I'm doing this. Not, I'm going to try to do this. Not, I'm going to think about doing this. A decision is, this is happening. The 1% are not special. They're just people who made a decision and refused to back down from it. And once you understand that, really internalize it, everything changes. Because it means you can do the same thing. You have the same brain. You have the same capacity. You just need the decision. But here's what most people don't understand. A decision is just the beginning. Once you've decided to do the hard thing, once you've crossed that mental line, there's a cost. There's a price you have to pay. And if you don't understand that price, if you don't know what you're actually sacrificing every single time you avoid the hard thing, you'll never have the strength to pay it. That's what we're talking about next. You've decided to be in the 1%. Now let's talk about what it actually costs the 99% to stay where they are. Chapter 2. The silent cost of comfort: what avoidance really steals from you. You're going to hear something in this chapter that might upset you. Good. You should be upset. Because right now, you're paying a debt you don't even realize you're accumulating. Every single day. Every single time you avoid something hard, you're not just losing that one moment. You're losing something far more valuable. You're losing your identity. You're losing your future. You're losing the person you could become. And the worst part? You're doing it slowly enough that you don't notice it happening. This is the chapter where we stop talking about motivation and we start talking about cost. Because everything has a cost. Avoidance has a cost. Action has a cost. Discipline has a cost. The difference is this: the cost of action is paid up front, in full, and then you're free. The cost of avoidance is paid over your entire lifetime, in compound interest, until there's nothing left. Let me be clear about something. I'm not here to shame you. I'm here to show you what's actually happening so you can choose differently. Every time you avoid, you're building the wrong identity. Right now, I want you to think about a cold call, or a difficult conversation, or a workout, or sitting down to write, or starting that project. Pick something you've been avoiding, something that scares you a little, something you know you should do but keep putting off. Now imagine this. Every single time you decide not to make that cold call, not to have that conversation, not to do that workout, not to start that project, you're casting a vote. You're voting for a version of yourself. A version that is afraid. A version that is weak. A version that is a procrastinator. A version that is a coward. And here's what most people don't understand. That vote counts. It counts immediately. Because your brain is a prediction machine. It's constantly updating its model of who you are based on your actions. Every action is data. Every avoidance is a data point that says, I'm the kind of person who avoids hard things. You are what you repeatedly do. That's not philosophy. That's neurology. A man named Marcus came to me 3 years ago. He was stuck in a dead-end sales job making $40,000 a year. He hated it. He knew he should be making cold calls, real, high-value calls, but he never did. He told himself he was not a cold-calling guy. He told himself he didn't have the personality for it. He told himself some people were just born with that ability and others weren't. But here's what was really happening. Every single day he didn't make those calls, he was building the identity of someone who doesn't make calls. Every day that passed, that identity got stronger. It became more real. It became more true. Not because it was actually true, but because he kept voting for it. After 3 years, Marcus had completely internalized this identity. He didn't think, I should make calls, but I'm scared. He thought, I'm just not a cold-calling person. The identity had crystallized. The cage had solidified. But then something changed. He hit rock bottom financially. He had a daughter. He couldn't feed her properly. And in that moment, he made a decision. He decided that the identity he had built, the identity of someone who avoids hard things, was more dangerous than any cold call. So he decided to rebuild his identity, one call at a time. On day 1, he made 5 calls. He wasn't good at it. He was awkward. He fumbled. He got rejected 4 times out of 5. But something shifted in his mind. He had voted for a different person. He had voted for someone who does hard things. On day 2, he made 5 more calls. Same result. Same awkwardness. Same rejection. But the identity was starting to change. He wasn't someone who doesn't make calls anymore. He was someone who is learning to make calls. By week 2, he had made 70 calls. His success rate hadn't improved much, but his identity had completely transformed. He was no longer someone who avoids. He was someone who did. And that identity shift changed everything. Because once you're someone who does, you naturally do more. You naturally improve. You naturally succeed. Within 6 months, Marcus was making $120,000 a year. Within a year, $200,000. It wasn't because he suddenly became talented. It wasn't because he got lucky. It was because he rebuilt his identity. One action at a time. And here's what he told me afterward. I didn't realize how much my avoidance was costing me. It wasn't just the money I lost by not making calls. It was the person I became. I became someone small. I became someone limited. I became someone afraid. And that version of me couldn't do anything. This is what you need to understand right now. Your identity is not fixed. It's not something you're born with. It's something you build, one action at a time. And right now, if you've been avoiding hard things, you've been building the wrong identity. You've been building the identity of someone afraid, someone weak, someone who makes excuses. But here's the beautiful part. You can rebuild it. Starting today. Starting right now. Every time you do a hard thing, especially when you don't feel like it, you're voting for a different person. You're voting for someone strong, someone brave, someone who does hard things. You are what you repeatedly do. That means you're not stuck. That means you can change. That means everything is on the table. But only if you understand the cost of not changing. The compounding debt of delayed decisions. I want you to understand something about debt. When you owe someone $1,000 at 20% interest, that's not a $1,000 problem. That's a $1,200 problem next year. That's a $1,440 problem the year after. That's a $1,728 problem the year after that. Debt compounds. It grows. It multiplies. And if you ignore it, it consumes your entire life. Avoidance works exactly the same way. The cold call you don't make today isn't a lost sale. It's a lost sale plus the anxiety of knowing you didn't make it. It's the fear that tomorrow you'll have to make 2 calls instead of 1. It's the shame that's building in your body because you know you made a promise to yourself and you broke it. That's compounding. But it doesn't stop there. Because now you're anxious. Anxious people avoid more. Anxious people procrastinate more. Anxious people make more excuses. So tomorrow, instead of making 2 calls, you make 0 calls. And now you owe 3 calls. Plus the additional anxiety from breaking your promise again. Plus the shame. Plus the decreasing self-respect. By the end of the week, you haven't made a single call. You owe 20 calls. You're terrified. You're ashamed. And your identity, your core belief about who you are has shifted dramatically. You're now someone who doesn't make calls. You're someone who can't follow through. You're someone who fails. And then what happens? Most people quit. They accept the identity. They accept the debt. They tell themselves, this just isn't for me. But the 1% understand something different. The 1% understand that debt compounds in both directions. That's the key. If avoidance compounds anxiety and debt, then action compounds confidence and results. A woman named Jennifer had $80,000 in credit card debt. She was in a panic. She was depressed. She was avoiding opening her bills. She was avoiding looking at her bank account. She was avoiding having conversations with her partner about money. The avoidance was compounding. Her anxiety was growing. Her shame was deepening. And then she made a decision. She decided to stop avoiding. She opened every single bill. She looked at her financial picture as a whole. She had the hard conversation with her partner. She made a plan. And then this is the important part, she took action. She cut up her credit cards. She set a budget. She got a second job. Now that sounds painful, right? And it was. But here's what happened. The moment she took action, the anxiety started decreasing. Not because the debt disappeared, but because she was no longer avoiding it. She was facing it. And facing it, even though it's hard, is less painful than avoiding it. Within 3 months of consistent action, her debt was down to $70,000. Within 6 months, $50,000. Within 18 months, 0. Not because she suddenly made a ton of money, but because she took consistent action. That consistency compounded. Every payment was a vote for herself. Every month of discipline reinforced her new identity. Every small victory was momentum. But here's the part that really matters. By the time she was debt-free, she wasn't the same person she had been when she started this journey. She had built a completely different identity. She was someone who took action. Someone who faces hard things. Someone who follows through. And that identity didn't disappear when the debt was gone. It stayed with her. And it changed her entire life. Because now she was someone who took action in all areas of her life. She went back to school. She got a better job. She started a side business. And none of those things would have happened if she hadn't first learned that action compounds just like debt does. Avoidance costs more than action. Always. Because avoidance isn't free. It's just paid in ways you can't always see. It's paid in anxiety. It's paid in shame. It's paid in lost opportunity. It's paid in a diminished sense of self. But action, real, consistent, daily action creates the opposite compound effect. It creates confidence. It creates momentum. It creates a growing belief in yourself that spreads into every other area of your life. This is what the 1% understand that the 99% don't. The math works in both directions. You can compound yourself into a hole, or you can compound yourself into the sky. And the only difference is the action you take today. The invisible cage you've built with avoidance. Right now, you're living in a cage. It's invisible. You can't see the bars. But it's real. And here's what's terrifying. You built it yourself, one avoidance at a time. You tell yourself certain things. I'm not a morning person. I'm not a cold calling person. I'm not creative. I'm not athletic. I'm not someone who can speak publicly. I'm not that type of person. And every time you tell yourself one of these things, the cage gets smaller. The bars get thicker. The limitation becomes more real. But here's what I need you to understand. These are not limitations. They're not facts. They're not real. They're stories. They're habits wear the disguise of truth. A man named Robert had been telling himself for 15 years that he was not a morning person. He said it with such conviction. He said it as if it were a fact of nature, like the sun rises or gravity pulls down. I'm just not a morning person, he would say. I've tried. I can't do it. I'm biologically wired to wake up late. And because he believed it, he built his entire life around it. He took jobs with late start times. He didn't go to the gym in the mornings. He missed networking events that started early. He told himself opportunities that required early mornings just weren't for him. 15 years. 15 years of reinforcing this identity. 15 years of building this cage. And then one day, he made a decision. Not because he suddenly wanted to, but because an opportunity came that required him to wake up at 5 a.m. for 90 days. A business opportunity. A real one. And he decided that the cage he had built was more expensive than the discomfort of breaking it. For 90 days, he woke up at 5 a.m. He wasn't happy about it. His body resisted. His brain screamed. But he did it anyway. On day 1, he was miserable. On day 3, he was still miserable. On day 7, something shifted. Not much, but something. His body started to adapt. On day 30, he realized he had more energy during the day than he had in years. On day 60, he woke up at 5 a.m. and felt good about it. On day 90, he didn't want to go back to sleep. The cage dissolved. Not because it was weak, but because it was never real. It was just a story he had been telling himself. A story reinforced by 15 years of avoidance. And here's what happened next. Once he broke through that cage, other cages started to dissolve. If he could be a morning person, what else could he do? Could he make cold calls? Could he learn a new skill? Could he run a marathon? Could he build a business? Suddenly, all the limitations he thought were real started to look like fiction. Your limitations are not facts. They are habits wearing the disguise of truth. Think about what cage you've built. Think about the story you've been telling yourself. I can't do that. That's not me. People like me don't do that. What is that story costing you? What opportunities are you walking past because of that story? What version of yourself are you not becoming because of that story? Because here's the truth. You don't know your actual limits. You only know the limits of the stories you've been telling yourself. And those stories are just avoidance patterns that have calcified into identity. The 1% understand this. They understand that the cage is an illusion. So when they encounter a limitation, when they encounter fear, when they encounter doubt, when they encounter a story that says, "I can't," they test it. They push against it. They try doing the thing anyway. And almost every single time, the cage dissolves. A woman named Angela had been telling herself for 20 years that she wasn't creative. She had accepted this as fact. It defined her. She took jobs that didn't require creativity. She didn't pursue hobbies. She told people, "I'm just not a creative person." And then she decided to write a novel. Not because she suddenly felt creative, but because she was tired of the cage. Tired of the story. Tired of the limitation. For 3 months, she wrote. Every single day. She wasn't good. Her first draft was terrible. Her grammar was atrocious. Her plot made no sense. But she kept writing. Because she was testing the cage, she was testing the story. By month 2, something shifted. The writing was still bad, but it was less bad. By month 3, she could see her voice emerging. By month 6, the novel was actually good. By month 12, she had written a novel that she was genuinely proud of. And here's what she told me: I wasn't uncreative. I was just someone who avoided creativity. And that avoidance became so strong that I thought it was a personality trait. But it wasn't. It was a choice I had been making every single day. The moment I decided to stop avoiding and start creating, the cage dissolved. This is the invisible cost of avoidance. It's not just the opportunities you lose. It's the self you don't become. It's the identity you reinforce. It's the cage you build around yourself, one small avoidance at a time, until you can't see anything outside of it. But here's the beautiful part: the cage is not real. The limitations are not facts. The stories are not true. They're just habits. And habits can be broken. You now understand the cost. Every time you avoid something, you're not just losing that moment. You're building the wrong identity. You're compounding anxiety and shame. You're reinforcing the cage that's keeping you small. But understanding the cost is not enough. Understanding is cheap. Everyone understands. The 99% understand that they should make the calls, have the conversations, do the workouts. They understand it perfectly. But understanding without action is just regret waiting to happen. So the question is not whether you understand. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Because the next chapter is where we talk about how the 1% actually move. How they stop being prisoners of their own avoidance and start building unstoppable momentum. The people at the top have figured out something the 99% haven't. It's not about proving yourself to the world. It's about doing the work before anyone is watching. It's about showing your progress before it's perfect. That's what we're talking about next. Chapter 3. Stop proving and start doing. You're wasting your life trying to prove something to someone who doesn't care. That's the sentence I want you to sit with for a moment. Because it's true. And it's brutal. And it's the reason you're not where you want to be. Right now, you're playing a game that has no winner. You're trying to prove that you're capable, that you're worthy, that you're good enough. And you're trying to prove it to people who are too busy with their own lives to notice. Your boss doesn't care whether you're capable. They care about whether you deliver results. Your customers don't care if you're worthy. They care if you solve their problem. Your competitors don't care if you're good enough. They care that they're crushing you while you're still getting ready. And here's the thing. The 1% figured this out a long time ago. They stopped playing the proving game. They stopped waiting for permission. They stopped trying to convince people they were ready. And they started doing and just doing. And the results spoke for themselves. This chapter is about the most dangerous trap in human psychology. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you understand how much this is costing you, you can't go back to playing the game. The trap of seeking validation. Let me paint a picture for you. A person is sitting at home. Let's call them Alex. Alex has an idea for a business. It's a good idea. A really good idea. But Alex doesn't start the business. Instead, Alex is preparing. Alex is researching. Alex is reading books about entrepreneurship. Alex is taking courses. Alex is building a business plan. Alex is getting everything perfect before launching. And Alex is waiting for something else too. Alex is waiting for validation. Alex is waiting for someone, a mentor, a successful entrepreneur, a family member, anyone to look at this business plan and say, "Yes, Alex. You're ready. You should do this." Alex wants permission. 5 years later, Alex is still preparing. The business plan is perfect. The research is thorough. The preparation is complete. But the business doesn't exist. And someone else, someone less prepared, someone less smart, someone who had a worse idea, launched a similar business and is now making millions. That person? That person didn't ask for permission. That person didn't wait for validation. That person didn't try to prove anything. That person just started. Here's what you need to understand. The 1% are not asking for permission. They never do. They don't call their parents and ask if it's okay to change careers. They don't ask their boss if they're allowed to build a side business. They don't ask their friends if they think they have what it takes. They don't ask anyone because they understand something fundamental. Permission is what prevents people from starting. Every single time you ask for permission, you're giving someone else the power to say no. Every time you seek validation, you're putting your progress in someone else's hands. And most people, even good people, even people who care about you, will tell you to be careful, to be safe, to not take risks. Because they're afraid. And their fear becomes your excuse. A woman named Michelle had been working at a corporate job for 8 years. She was good at her job. She was respected. She had a decent salary and benefits. But she hated it. Every single day, she woke up and felt dead inside. And she knew why. She wanted to be a consultant. She had ideas about how to help small businesses grow. She had the expertise. She had the passion. But she didn't have permission. So she asked for it. She told her parents she was thinking about leaving her job to start a consulting business. Her mother cried. Her father said, "That's too risky. You have a good job. Why would you throw that away?" She told her best friend. Her friend said, "That sounds scary. Are you sure you're ready?" None of these people was trying to hurt her. They were just reflecting their own fears back at her. And Michelle, seeking validation, took their concerns as evidence that she shouldn't do it. So she stayed. She kept working. She kept feeling dead inside. 3 years later, someone else, someone Michelle knew from college, someone she actually thought was less qualified than her, started a consulting business. And that person is now making $500,000 a year. The difference wasn't talent. It wasn't intelligence. It wasn't connections. The difference was that the other person didn't ask for permission. That person didn't seek validation. That person just did it. Here's what's crucial. Michelle didn't need permission. She needed to understand that permission would never come. Nobody was going to call her up and say, "Michelle, you have my blessing to pursue your dreams." Nobody was going to validate her in advance. The only validation that mattered was the results. This is the trap of seeking validation. It feels safe. It feels responsible. It feels like you're being smart and careful. But it's actually a prison. Because you're giving the power to start to people who have no stake in your success. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need anyone's approval. You don't need anyone to tell you that you're ready. You know what you need. You need to start. That's it. That's the entire requirement. Start. Move. Do something. The validation will come from results, not from asking. The 1% understand this. When they have an idea, they don't call a meeting to discuss it. They don't build a committee. They don't ask for feedback in advance. They start. They move. They iterate based on real data, not on what people think might work. And here's the thing that really separates them. They start before they're ready. They start when they're terrified. They start when they don't know if it will work. They start because they understand something that the 99% don't. You don't earn the right to prove yourself. You earn the right to move forward by moving forward. The danger of overcomplicated planning. The 99% believe in a formula. The formula goes like this: research, then plan, then prepare, then execute. They think that if they can just get the first 3 steps perfect, the 4th step will be easy. But here's the problem with that formula. By the time you're ready to execute, the world has moved on. By the time you have the perfect plan, the market has shifted. By the time you're fully prepared, your window of opportunity has closed. The 1% operate on a different formula entirely. It's much simpler. It's start, learn, adjust, grow. That's it, 4 steps instead of 4 months of preparation. A man named David wanted to launch a YouTube channel about productivity. He had the idea. It was a good idea. And he spent 4 months planning. He researched YouTube algorithms. He studied other successful channels. He bought equipment. He planned out his first 30 videos. He created templates. He optimized his thumbnail design. Everything was perfect. And then he launched. And you know what happened? Nobody watched. Why? Because 4 months of research can't teach you what 4 weeks of real experience can teach you. He didn't know what his actual audience wanted. He didn't know which topics would resonate. He didn't know that his thumbnail design was outdated compared to what was actually working. All his planning was based on theory rather than reality. Meanwhile, someone else, someone less prepared, someone who had less knowledge, someone who spent 2 weeks planning instead of 4 months, launched a channel on the same topic. That person was rough. The first videos were poorly edited. The audio was mediocre. The titles were generic. But that person was learning in real time. That person was getting feedback immediately. That person was adjusting based on actual data rather than theoretical predictions. Within 6 months, the unprepared person had 10 times as many subscribers as David. Not because they were smarter, but because they were learning faster. They were getting real feedback instead of imagined feedback. They were iterating based on results instead of predictions. Here's what you need to understand. Done is better than perfect. And this is not a motivational phrase. This is the actual strategy. Because perfection doesn't exist. Perfect planning doesn't exist. The only things that exist are action and feedback. And every day you delay action to get closer to perfect is a day someone else is getting feedback and improving. The 1% have internalized this. When they have an idea, they ask one question: what is the minimum viable version of this that I can put out into the world? Not, what is the perfect version? But, what is the simplest version that is still good enough? An entrepreneur named Lisa wanted to start a coaching business. She had the expertise. She had years of experience. But she could have spent another year building a website, creating courses, writing books, and building her credibility. Instead, she asked herself, what's the minimum viable version? So she posted on LinkedIn. She said, I help women negotiate their salaries. If you're interested, message me. That's it. No fancy website. No credentials listed. No testimonials. Just a simple offer. 15 women responded. She coached them. She charged them $500 each. That's $7,500. And more importantly, she got real feedback. She discovered that what women actually wanted wasn't what she thought. She learned that her strongest skill was teaching confidence, not just negotiation tactics. She learned that her ideal client was actually mid-career women, not early career women. All of that learning happened because she shipped early, because she didn't wait to be perfect, because she just started. If she had spent a year building the perfect coaching program, doing all the research, creating the perfect curriculum, she would have launched something that nobody wanted. She would have wasted a year. Instead, she spent 2 weeks, launched, and learned. Here's the formula the 1% follow. Imperfect action beats perfect planning every single time. And it's not close. It's not even a competition. If you take action today with 70% of the information, and someone else spends 6 months getting 95% of the information before taking action, you will lap them. You will be 6 months ahead. You will have real feedback. You will have data. You will have results. The danger of overcomplicated planning is that it feels productive. It feels like you're making progress. You're researching. You're learning. You're preparing. But you're not actually moving. You're just getting better at waiting. And the 1% know this. So they don't plan. They execute. They learn. They adjust. And they win. Show your work before you're ready. Here's the most transformative shift you can make in your life. Stop building in private and start building in public. The 99% operate on a simple principle: hide until you're perfect, then launch. They work in their garage. They build in secret. They refine and refine and refine. And then, when they think it's ready, they put it out into the world. By that time, they've had no feedback. They've had no reality check. They've had no iteration based on actual response. The 1% operate on the opposite principle: build in public, get feedback immediately, improve in real time. A creator named James wanted to start writing a book about personal finance. He had the knowledge. He had the experience. And he could have spent a year writing it in private, making sure every chapter was perfect and every concept was clearly explained. Or, and this is what he actually did, he could start writing it in public. So he started sharing chapters on Substack. Raw chapters. Unedited chapters. Chapters that he knew weren't perfect. He published 1 chapter a week. And something magical happened. People started responding. They asked questions. They pointed out confusing things. They told him what they wanted more of and less of. Because of that feedback, James completely rewrote 3 chapters. Because of reader response, he added an entire new section that wasn't in his original plan. Because people were actually engaging, he made the book better. Not in private, but in real time, based on real feedback. When he finally published the complete book, it was infinitely better than what he would have created in isolation. And it already had an audience. People had been reading his work for 6 months. They had invested in his journey. So when the book launched, it sold thousands of copies immediately. If he had hidden and built in private, he would have created something that felt perfect to him but that no one else wanted. If he had shared it publicly, he would have created something people actually wanted because they helped shape it. This is the transformation the 1% have made. They show their work before it's perfect. And yes, there's a risk. Yes, people will see your rough draft. Yes, people will judge your early attempts. But here's what's actually happening. You're getting feedback that makes you better. You're building an audience as you go. You're creating momentum because people are invested in your success. A woman named Rachel started a fitness Instagram account. She was not a famous fitness influencer. She was just someone who got fit. And she documented her journey. Raw, real, unfiltered. Pictures of her workouts. Videos of her struggles. Honest captions about how hard it was. Other people saw her journey. They started following along. They got inspired. They started asking her questions. She started sharing her knowledge. And because she had been sharing publicly and had built her audience as she grew, she had a massive following by the time she decided to launch a fitness course. Compare that to someone who spent a year getting in perfect shape, creating the perfect course, designing the perfect marketing materials, and then launching with no audience. The second person had to start from zero. Rachel already had tens of thousands of people who wanted to buy from her because they had watched her journey. The power of showing your work before you're ready is that it eliminates the gap between creation and response. It makes you accountable. It forces you to get good fast because people are watching. It builds an audience that's invested in your success because they've been part of your journey. And here's the thing, the 1% know that the 99% don't. People don't follow perfection. People follow growth. People follow authenticity. People follow people who are willing to be seen while they're still learning. So the question is not, when will I be ready to share my work? The question is, what's the earliest point at which I can share my work, get feedback, and improve? Because waiting until you're perfect is waiting until you're dead. You will never be perfect. The only thing you can do is start, show your work, get feedback, and improve. And the sooner you start, the sooner you'll be where you want to be. Stop proving yourself to imaginary critics. Stop waiting for permission. Stop trying to be perfect. Start. Show your work. Learn. Improve. And repeat. The validation you're seeking isn't going to come from asking. It's going to come from results. And the only way to get results is to move. You now understand the trap. You understand that seeking validation paralyzes you. You understand that perfect planning is just procrastination wearing a fancy suit. You understand that showing your work early is not a weakness, it's a competitive advantage. But here's where most people get stuck. They understand all of this intellectually. They agree with it. They know it's true. But they still don't move. Why? Because their brain is fighting them. Their nervous system is designed to keep them safe. And safe means avoiding risk. Safe means waiting. Safe means not putting yourself out there. So the question becomes, how do you override that system? How do you force yourself to move when every cell in your body is screaming wait? How do you act despite the fear, despite the doubt, despite the voice in your head that says you're not ready? That's not willpower. That's not motivation. That's science. It's neurology. It's understanding how your brain actually works and using that knowledge to rewire yourself. That's what we're talking about next. Because once you understand the mechanism, once you understand the exact neurological process that's keeping you stuck, you can hack it. You can use your brain's own systems to force yourself to do what 99% can't. Chapter 4. The Science of Forced Action: Rewiring Your Brain for Discipline. Your brain is designed to protect you. That's its job. It's a prediction machine. It's constantly scanning the environment for danger. And when it predicts discomfort, when it sees a cold call, a difficult conversation, or a new challenge, it sends a signal. That signal says, avoid. Stay safe. Don't risk it. This is not a flaw in your design. This is a feature. This system kept your ancestors alive. When they saw a predator, this system said, run. When they approached a cliff, this system said, stop. Your brain literally saved their lives thousands of times. But here's the problem. Your brain is still operating on ancient software. It doesn't distinguish between physical danger and social discomfort. It doesn't know the difference between a hungry lion and a cold call. So when you think about making that call, your brain floods with cortisol and adrenaline, the same chemicals that would prepare you to fight a predator. And then it tells you to avoid. This is where most people lose. They think their fear is telling them something true. They think their brain is protecting them from something dangerous. But it's not. It's just outdated code running on modern hardware. The 1% have figured out how to override this system, not through willpower. Willpower is finite and exhaustible. They override it through repetition, through understanding exactly how the brain adapts to discomfort, through using neuroscience to reprogram themselves. And that's what this chapter is about. Because once you understand the mechanism, you can use it. You can literally rewire your brain to make discipline automatic. Your brain doesn't care how you feel. Your brain cares about what you do. Repetition rewires reality. Let me explain what happens neurologically when you do something hard. When you make that first cold call, your anterior cingulate cortex activates. That's the part of your brain that detects conflict. It detects that there's a discrepancy between what you want to do and what your brain is telling you to do. And it creates discomfort. Literal, physical discomfort. Not pain, but a sense of wrongness. A sense of this doesn't feel right. Most people experience that discomfort, and they stop. They interpret that discomfort as a signal that they shouldn't be doing this. My body is telling me no, so I should listen. But that's misinterpreting the signal. What's actually happening is that your brain is detecting something new. Something unfamiliar. Something that doesn't fit the existing neural pathways. And it's sending a distress signal because change is disruptive. Change is uncomfortable. Change requires energy. But here's what happens when you keep going anyway. When you make that cold call despite the discomfort, something shifts in your brain. The neural pathway that executes cold calling becomes slightly stronger. It becomes slightly more efficient. Your brain is learning that cold calling is survivable. It's not dangerous. It just feels different. On day 2, you make another cold call. The discomfort is still there, but it's slightly less intense. Your brain is continuing to update its prediction. It's learning that this activity is safe. It's learning that the discomfort is not a signal of danger, but a signal of growth. By day 7, something remarkable happens. The discomfort has dropped by 70%. Your brain has completely recalibrated. Making that cold call no longer feels impossible. It feels manageable. It feels normal. And here's the crucial part. Your brain didn't change your life circumstances. Your brain changed how it processes the activity. It literally rewired itself. This is not a theory. This is neuroscience. This is how neuroplasticity actually works. Your brain is not fixed. It's not permanent. It adapts based on what you do. And if you do hard things repeatedly, your brain rewires itself to make those hard things easier. But most people never get to day 7. Most people quit at day 2 or 3, right when they're in the deepest discomfort, right before the adaptation happens. They interpret the continued discomfort as evidence that they're not cut out for this. But they're misinterpreting. They're just at the wrong point in the learning curve. The 1% understand this. They understand that discomfort is not a stop sign. Discomfort is a training signal. It's your brain's way of saying, hey, we're learning something new here. This is going to feel uncomfortable until we adapt. And because they understand that, they keep going. They push through day 3, day 4, day 5. And by day 7, their brains have adapted completely. This is the neurological secret the 99% don't understand. Your brain is not your enemy. It's not trying to sabotage you. It's trying to protect you using outdated information. But you can reprogram it. You can teach them that discomfort is not danger. And you can do that through simple, consistent repetition. Think about learning to drive. Remember when you first got behind the wheel? Everything was conscious. Every movement required attention. Steering, braking, checking mirrors, and monitoring speed. You had to think about all of it simultaneously. Your brain was flooded. The anterior cingulate cortex was screaming. It was overwhelming. But you kept driving. And by day 30, something shifted. You could drive without thinking. Your brain had automated the process. The neural pathways had become so efficient that you could drive while talking, while listening to music, while thinking about other things. The same activity that required total conscious effort now required almost no conscious effort. That's neuroplasticity. That's your brain adapting. That's rewiring. And it happens through repetition, not through understanding. Not through motivation. Not through feeling ready. Through repetition. This is the mechanism. This is how the 1% reprogram themselves. They don't wait until cold calling feels comfortable. They make cold calls until they feel comfortable. They don't wait until public speaking feels natural. They speak publicly until it feels natural. They don't wait until discipline feels automatic. They take disciplined action until it becomes automatic. And the timeline is predictable. Within the first 3 repetitions, your brain is still highly resistant. It's still screaming no. Within 7 repetitions, your brain has adapted significantly. The resistance has dropped. Within 30 repetitions, the activity has become almost automatic. Your brain has rewired itself. This is why the 1% are willing to endure the discomfort of the first week. They know the adaptation is coming. They know that on day 8, things will be radically different than on day 1. Most people don't last until day 8 because they interpret the discomfort of days 2 through 7 as evidence that they should quit. But you're not most people. You now understand the mechanism. You now know that discomfort is temporary. You now know that your brain is adapting, whether you feel it or not. So you can push through with evidence. You can push through with certainty. You can push through with knowledge. Now, let me tell you about a specific protocol that the 1% use to force this adaptation. It's called the 48-hour rule. And it's devastatingly effective. Here's how it works. The moment you decide to do something hard, you have a 48-hour window to take action. Not 72 hours. Not a week. 48 hours. And during that window, you do the thing. You don't think about it. You don't plan it further. You just do it. Here's why this works neurologically. When you make a decision, your brain floods with neurotransmitters. You feel motivated. You feel capable. You feel like you can do it. That's the neurochemical window. And that window is open for approximately 48 hours. After 48 hours, the neurochemical surge wears off. Your brain returns to baseline. And your default mode is avoidance. So the 48-hour rule leverages your brain's natural neurochemistry. You make the decision while the motivation chemicals are flowing, and you act before they wear off. By the time your brain's natural resistance returns, you've already done the thing. You've already taken the action. You've already started the adaptation process. Think about the last time you decided to do something important. You felt it, right? You felt the surge. You felt the readiness. You felt like this was the moment. But then what happened? A day went by. Then another. And the feeling faded. By day 3, you didn't feel it anymore. By day 5, you'd basically abandoned the decision. Most people think that means the decision wasn't real. That means they didn't actually want it. But that's not what it means. It means they waited too long. It means they lost the neurochemical window. The 1% exploit this window ruthlessly. The moment they decide, they move. A woman named Sarah decided to start writing a book. She felt the surge. She felt the motivation. And within 48 hours, she had written 2,000 words. She didn't wait for inspiration to strike again. She used the neurochemical window that was already open. By the time that window closed, she had already started the adaptation. She had already built momentum. She had already proven to herself that she could do it. And that proof was enough to carry her through the periods when motivation wasn't present. Compare that to someone who feels the surge, tells themselves they'll start tomorrow, wakes up tomorrow, feels less motivated, tells themselves they'll start the next day, and then by day 5 has completely abandoned the decision. They interpret the loss of motivation as evidence that they shouldn't do it. But they've just mismanaged the neurochemical window. This is the 48-hour rule. Decision plus 48 hours of action equals irreversible momentum. And it's not just about motivation. It's about neurochemistry. It's about understanding how your brain actually works and using that knowledge to your advantage. The key is this: you don't have to feel motivated to act. You just have to act within the neurochemical window. And once you've acted, the window closes, the momentum carries you forward, and the adaptation process begins. But here's where most people get stuck, even when they understand the 48-hour rule. They push through the first action. They make the cold call. They start the project. They have the conversation. But then the real resistance hits. This is what I call threshold resistance. And it's the reason most people fail. Here's what happens. You take your first action. It's uncomfortable, but you do it. Your brain starts to adapt. But it's not enough adaptation yet. Your brain is still predicting discomfort. It's still sending resistance signals. The adaptation is happening, but it's slow. It's not complete. Most people experience that continued resistance, and they quit. They think, this isn't working. I'm still uncomfortable. This probably isn't for me. But they're quitting at exactly the wrong moment. They're quitting before the threshold. The threshold is real. It's the moment where the adaptation compounds. It's the moment when your brain stops resisting and starts accepting. And it happens somewhere between repetition 3 and repetition 7. Usually around repetition 5. If you quit before repetition 5, you get nothing. You have all the discomfort and none of the adaptation. But if you push through to repetition 5, then repetition 6, then repetition 7, your brain completely shifts. The resistance drops by 80%. The activity becomes manageable. The adaptation is permanent. A man named Marcus wanted to become a public speaker. He was terrified. His first speech was a nightmare. He fumbled his words. He forgot what he was going to say. He felt humiliated. His brain said, "Never again." Most people would have quit there. But Marcus understood threshold resistance. He knew that one bad speech didn't mean he couldn't speak. It meant he needed to speak more. So he committed to 7 speeches. No matter how bad they were, he was going to give 7 speeches. By speech 3, he was still terrible. But he was understanding the material better. By speech 5, something shifted. He felt the resistance dropping. By speech 7, he was actually good. And more than that, he was no longer afraid. His brain had adapted completely. Compare that to someone who gave one bad speech and never spoke again. They avoided all the discomfort. But they also avoided all the adaptation. They're still terrified of public speaking. Marcus went through the discomfort. Marcus hit the threshold. And on the other side of that threshold, he was a different person. Someone who could speak publicly. Someone who could handle being in front of crowds. Someone who had adapted. This is what the 1% know. 7 days of non-negotiable action breaks any resistance. Every single time. Not sometimes. Every single time. The threshold is real. The adaptation is neurological. And once you cross it, the change is permanent. Your brain has literally rewired itself. You're no longer afraid of public speaking. You're someone who speaks publicly. Your identity has shifted because your neural pathways have shifted. This is the mechanism of transformation. Not motivation. Not inspiration. Not positive thinking. Neurological adaptation through repetition past the threshold of resistance. And here's the beautiful part. Once you understand this mechanism, once you know the discomfort is temporary, once you know the threshold is real and it's only 7 days away, you can push through with certainty. You can push through knowing that on day 8, you'll be different. On day 8, you'll have adapted. On day 8, the resistance will have dropped by 80%. That's not hope. That's neuroscience. That's how your brain actually works. So let me tell you what this all means practically. Right now, there is something you've been avoiding. A cold call. A conversation. A workout. a project, something that scares you, something your brain is telling you to avoid. Your brain is not wrong to feel that fear. Your brain is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. But your brain is working with outdated information. Your brain thinks this activity is dangerous. But it's not. It's just unfamiliar. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to acknowledge the fear. You're going to feel the resistance. And you're going to do the thing anyway. Not because you feel ready. Not because you feel motivated. But because you understand the mechanism. You understand that your brain is going to resist for the first 7 days. You understand that the resistance is neurological, not factual. You understand that if you push through those 7 days, your brain will adapt. You understand that on day 8, everything changes. That knowledge is your weapon. That understanding is what separates you from the 99%. Because they're still waiting for motivation. They're still waiting to feel ready. They're still negotiating with their brain about whether it's safe to move forward. You're not. You're moving forward regardless. Because you know how the brain works. You know how adaptation happens. You know that discomfort is a training signal, not a stop sign. Your brain is not your limitation. Your brain is your leverage. And once you understand how to use it, discipline becomes automatic. You now understand the science. You understand that your brain is designed to resist, and that resistance is temporary. You understand that repetition rewires neural pathways. You understand that the threshold is real and it's only 7 days away. But here's where the rubber meets the road. Knowing this and doing this are two completely different things. Because knowing doesn't change your brain. Only action changes your brain. Only repetition rewires you. Only taking that action within the 48-hour window and pushing past the threshold to day 7 only creates permanent change. So the question becomes, how do you structure your life so that you actually take that action? How do you remove the variables? How do you make discipline not a matter of willpower, but a matter of system? Because willpower is finite. You wake up with a limited supply, and by noon, it's gone. But a system is different. A system doesn't require willpower. A system requires a decision to be made once, and then it handles the rest. The 1% don't rely on willpower. They rely on systems. They've structured their entire lives so that discipline is not an option, it's the default. That's what we're talking about next. Chapter 5. The non-negotiable hour: creating a system that doesn't require willpower. Willpower is a lie. Not a metaphorical lie. A literal neurobiological lie. Scientists call it ego depletion. Every single decision you make depletes your willpower reserves. By the time you wake up, decide what to wear, decide what to eat, decide what to work on, decide to respond to emails, decide to check social media, your willpower is already spent. You're running on fumes. And then you expect yourself to have willpower left to do the hard thing? It's impossible. The average person wakes up with a certain amount of willpower. They use it for 100 small decisions throughout the day. And by 3 p.m., it's gone. That's why the 99% fail at their goals. They're relying on willpower. They're relying on motivation. They're relying on making the right choice repeatedly throughout the day. But the 1% have figured out something radical. They don't rely on willpower at all. They've eliminated the need for willpower by creating systems. A system is a pre-decision. It's a choice made once in advance, so that you never have to choose again. This chapter is about creating the most powerful system in human psychology. It's called the non-negotiable hour. And it's the difference between people who talk about their goals and people who achieve them. Let me tell you about a man named Robert. Robert worked at a bank. It was a decent job. It paid okay, but it was slowly killing him. He knew he wanted to be a writer. He knew he had stories to tell, but he never wrote. Why? Because he was relying on willpower. Every day he would tell himself, "I'm going to write tonight." And every night, He would come home from work exhausted. His willpower was spent. He would sit down intending to write, but instead he would check his phone. He would watch TV. He would scroll social media. He would do anything except write. This went on for 5 years. 5 years of good intentions. 5 years of, I'm going to start tomorrow. 5 years of using his limited willpower to choose not to write. And then Robert did something different. He no longer relied on willpower. Instead, he created a system. He decided that every day from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m., he was going to write. Non-negotiable. Not optional. Not if I feel like it. Non-negotiable. He didn't decide that he would do it sometimes. He didn't decide to try. He decided that it was happening. Every single day. 5 to 6 a.m. Writing. On day 1, he woke up at 5 a.m. He didn't feel like writing. His willpower said no. But his system said yes. His system didn't care how he felt. His system has just executed. He sat down. He opened the blank page. He started typing. Within 6 months, Robert had written 150,000 words. He had the entire framework for a novel. He had discovered his voice as a writer. And none of that happened because of willpower. It happened because he had eliminated the need for willpower. Here's what's crucial. Robert didn't suddenly have more willpower. He didn't wake up magically more disciplined. He simply removed the decision. He pre-decided. And because he had pre-decided, willpower became irrelevant. This is the non-negotiable hour. It's not a goal. It's not something you hope to do. It's something you've decided is happening. You identify 1 hour in your day. You protect that hour with your life. In that hour, you do the one thing that moves you toward your biggest goal. The thing 99% avoid. And you do it every single day without exception, for 90 days. For a salesperson, it's cold calling. For a creator, it's creating. For a writer, it's writing. For a fitness enthusiast, it's working out. For a student, it's studying. You identify the non-negotiable activity, the thing that will move you forward faster than anything else, and you commit to 1 hour every single day. And here's the thing, you're not trying to be perfect during that hour. You're not trying to produce a masterpiece. You're just trying to show up. You're just trying to do the work. Some days you'll be on fire. Some days you'll be terrible. But you show up either way. 1 hour, every single day, non-negotiable, produces results most people think are impossible. Let me give you another example. A woman named Jennifer was stuck in her career. She had been at the same job for 8 years, and she felt like she was going nowhere. She knew she needed to learn new skills. She knew she needed to develop herself. But she kept putting it off. She said she would learn when she had time, when things calmed down at work, when life got easier. But life doesn't get easier. Work never calms down. And time doesn't suddenly appear. So Jennifer created a non-negotiable hour. From 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., she learned. That was it. 1 hour. Every single day. She took online courses. She read industry books. She watched tutorials. She practiced new skills. 1 hour. Every single day. She didn't have more time than anyone else. She just protected for 1 hour. She treated it like a meeting with her company's CEO. You don't cancel meetings with the CEO. You don't reschedule them. They happen. Within 6 months, Jennifer had learned skills that took other people years to learn. Within a year, she was qualified for jobs that she couldn't have gotten before. Within 18 months, she had gotten a promotion and a significant raise. Not because she suddenly became smarter, but because she protected 1 hour every single day. The non-negotiable hour is not about having a lot of time. It's about protecting 1 hour. It's about deciding that this hour belongs to your goal and nothing else. Not email. Not meetings. Not social media. Not Netflix. Just you and the work. And here's what happens neurologically. That 1 hour becomes your anchor. It becomes the thing that your entire day is built around. Your brain starts to anticipate it. Your nervous system adapts to it. And by week 2, your brain is actually looking forward to it. By week 4, skipping it feels wrong. By week 8, you couldn't imagine your day without it. This is what the 1% have figured out. You don't need much time. You need consistency. You need 1 hour. Every single day. No exceptions. No excuses. And if you can protect that 1 hour for 90 days, your life will transform. But here's the catch. Most people can't protect that hour. Why? Because they haven't removed the friction. They haven't set up their environment to make the hour go by easily. This is where environmental design comes in. You cannot rely on willpower to push you toward the hard thing if you've made it hard to access. You have to engineer your environment so that the hard thing is actually the path of least resistance. The 1% have internalized this. They've made the hard thing easier than the easy thing. Here's what this looks like practically. If your non-negotiable hour is writing, you don't open your laptop and then search for your writing app. You have your writing app open before you go to bed. You have your document open. You have your cursor blinking. So when you wake up, the friction is removed. You sit down, and you're already in the work. If your non-negotiable hour is cold calling, you don't spend the first 15 minutes looking for your prospect list. The list is already there. Your phone is charged. Your headset is on. Your script is in front of you. You sit down, and you're calling within 30 seconds. If your non-negotiable hour is working out, you don't think about what clothes to wear. Your gym clothes are laid out. Your gym bag is packed. Your shoes are by the door. You wake up, and you're already prepared. Make the hard thing the path of least resistance. Genius is just friction engineering. A man named David wanted to meditate every morning. He knew meditation was good for him. He knew it would calm his mind. But he never did it. Why? Because it had friction. He would wake up. He would have to find a quiet place. He would have to decide how long to meditate. He would have to figure out what meditation app to use. By the time he'd removed all those friction points, he'd lost the motivation. So David engineered his environment. He set up a meditation chair in his bedroom. He downloaded a meditation app and selected a 20-minute guided meditation the night before. He set his phone to play that meditation at 6 a.m. So when he woke up, all he had to do was sit in the chair. The entire setup was removed. The friction was eliminated. And suddenly, meditation became easy. Not because David changed, but because the environment changed. This is the 1% strategy. They don't rely on discipline to overcome friction. They remove the friction entirely. They engineer their environment so that doing the hard thing is easier than not doing it. Think about brushing your teeth. You brush your teeth every single day without thinking about it, without using any willpower, without any motivation. Why? Because the friction is removed. Your toothbrush is in the bathroom. Your toothpaste is right there. It takes 30 seconds. The setup is automatic. Now imagine having to search for your toothbrush every morning. You'd have to remember where you put it. You'd have to walk to find it. You'd have to find the toothpaste. By the time you found everything, you might not even bother. Most people would skip it some mornings. But because the friction is removed, you brush every single day. You don't have to use willpower. Your environment handles it. The 1% apply this same principle to everything. They remove friction from hard things. They add friction to easy things. A woman named Sarah wanted to stop scrolling social media during her non-negotiable hour. So she didn't rely on willpower. She deleted the apps from her phone. Now, if she wants to check social media, She has to go to her computer. She has to log in. The friction is so high that she doesn't bother. On the flip side, she wanted to write. So she made writing easy. She had her document open. She had her outline ready. She had a timer set for 60 minutes. The friction was removed. The path was clear. Within 90 days, she had written 1,000 words every single day. Not because she had more willpower than anyone else, but because she had removed the variables. She had engineered her environment. This is what separates the 1% from the 99%. The 99% rely on willpower. They rely on motivation. They rely on making the right choice repeatedly. And they fail. The 1% remove the need for willpower. They engineer their environment. They make the hard thing easy. And they succeed consistently. Now let me tell you the final layer. Because the non-negotiable hour is not just about time management. It's about identity. It's about who you're becoming. When you protect 1 hour every single day, you're not just completing a task. You're building an identity. You're voting for a version of yourself. A version that follows through. A version that is disciplined. A version that does hard things. By day 30, you're not someone who is trying to write. You're someone who writes. By day 60, you're not someone who is trying to build a business. You're someone who builds businesses. By day 90, your identity has shifted completely. And that identity shift is permanent. Once you've been someone who shows up every single day for 90 days, you can't go back to being someone who doesn't. Your brain has adapted. Your neural pathways have rewired. You've proven to yourself that you can do hard things. This is the ultimate power of the non-negotiable hour. It's not just a scheduling tool. It's an identity transformation tool. It's the system that creates the 1%. You now understand that willpower is finite. You understand that systems eliminate the need for willpower. You understand that the non-negotiable hour is the most powerful system you can create. You understand that environmental design removes friction and makes discipline automatic. But here's the reality. Even with a perfect system, even with friction removed, even with identity shift happening, you're still going to face something that the 1% face constantly. You're still going to face rejection. You're still going to face failure. You're still going to face people saying no to you. And most people can't handle that. Most people make a few cold calls, get rejected a couple of times, and they quit. They interpret rejection as evidence that they're not cut out for this. But rejection is not a stop sign. Rejection is the byproduct of actually trying. The 1% don't fear rejection because they've been rejected so many times that they're immune to it. They've desensitized themselves through exposure. They've built a tolerance for no that most people can't fathom. And that tolerance is the difference between the 1% and the 99%. Chapter 6. The Rejection Paradox. Why 99% never lose the fear. The people at the top get rejected more than everyone else. A lot more. A successful salesman makes 50 cold calls and receives 45 rejections. A successful entrepreneur pitches investors and gets rejected 90 times before one says yes. A prolific author gets rejected by 100 agents before one signs them. This is not despite their success. This is because of their success. The 1% succeed because they've been rejected more. Because they've built a tolerance for no that the 99% never develop. Because they've learned that rejection is not a signal to stop, it's a signal that they're actually trying. The 99% have it completely backward. They think rejection is rare. They think successful people rarely face rejection. So when they face rejection, they interpret it as evidence that something is wrong with them. They quit. They hide. They never try again. But the truth is the opposite. The 1% face rejection constantly. And that's exactly why they win. They've built an immunity to it. Let me tell you about a woman named Michelle. Michelle was a salesperson. But she was terrified of cold calling. Every time she picked up the phone to make a call, her heart would race. Her palms would sweat. Her voice would shake. She was absolutely convinced that she wasn't cut out for this job. She would make 3 or 4 calls per day, and every call would end in rejection. Not interested. We already have someone. Call back next year. And each rejection would reinforce her belief. See? I'm bad at this. People don't want to talk to me. I should find a different job. She lasted 6 months before she quit. She went back to an office job. She told herself she just wasn't a salesperson. She told herself she didn't have the personality for it. She told herself that some people were just born with that ability. But here's what was really happening. Michelle quit before she had built a tolerance to rejection. She quit before she desensitized herself. She quit right when the process was supposed to work. Compare that to a man named Derek. Derek also started as a salesman. Derek also hated cold calling. Derek was also terrified of rejection. The difference was that Derek decided to stay. Derek decided he would make 100 calls per week, regardless of how many rejections he got. In week 1, Derek made 100 calls. He got 1 sale. He got 99 rejections. And do you know what he did? He celebrated the 1 sale. He didn't focus on the rejections. He treated them as data. They weren't personal. They weren't evidence of his failure. They were just no. In week 2, Derek made 100 calls again. He got 2 sales. He got 98 rejections. He was improving. In week 3, he got 3 sales. In week 4, he got 4 sales. By month 3, he was getting 15 to 20 sales per 100 calls. He had built a rejection tolerance. His desensitization was complete. Rejection no longer triggered fear. It triggered data gathering. 1 year later, Derek was the top salesman in the company. Not because he was more talented, but because he had faced rejection more and built a tolerance for it. The rejection paradox is real. The people who can handle rejection win. The people who can't handle rejection lose. And the only way to build tolerance to rejection is to face it. The 1% understand this. So instead of avoiding rejection, they chase it. They deliberately put themselves in situations where rejection is likely. They don't do this because they enjoy being rejected. They do it because they understand that rejection is the fastest path to success. A man named Jason wanted to overcome his fear of asking women out. He was terrified of rejection. So what did he do? He decided to get rejected on purpose. He set a goal of being rejected 10 times in 1 month. That's it. His goal was not to get dates. His goal was to get rejected. And something magical happened. Once his goal was to be rejected, the fear disappeared. Because now rejection was success. If he asked a woman out and she said no, he won. He hit his target. And because the fear disappeared, because he was no longer trying to avoid rejection, he actually became better at talking to women. By the end of the month, he had been rejected 10 times. But he had also gotten 3 dates. And on the dates he did get, he was relaxed and confident because he had desensitized himself to rejection. By the end of that year, he had a girlfriend. Not because he suddenly became more attractive, but because he had removed the fear of rejection. This is the paradox. When you stop trying to avoid rejection and start chasing it, rejection becomes powerless. Fear is fed by avoidance. Fear dies through exposure. Now let me introduce you to the rejection ladder. This is the 1% strategy for systematically building rejection tolerance. The rejection ladder is simple. You start at the bottom rung. You do something small that is likely to be rejected. You get rejected. You move up 1 rung. You do something slightly bigger. You get rejected. You move up 1 rung. And you keep climbing until rejection no longer scares you. Here's what it looks like practically. Rung 1. Ask your barber for a discount. Rung 2. Go to a coffee shop and ask them to waive the charge for one coffee. Rung 3. Ask a store manager for a discount on a regular purchase. Rung 4. Go to a networking event and have conversations with 5 strangers. Rung 5. Reach out to someone on LinkedIn and ask for advice. Rung 6. Make a cold call to a potential customer. Rung 7. Pitch your business idea to someone who has never heard of it. Each rung is slightly more vulnerable. Each rung requires you to handle more rejection. And each rung teaches your nervous system that rejection is survivable. It's not comfortable, but it's survivable. A woman named Patricia was terrified of cold calling. She had never done it. So she started at rung 1. She asked her barista for a discount. He said no. She didn't die. Rung 2. She asked a store manager if they had any sales. They said no. She didn't die. Rung 3. She called a local business and asked if they wanted to talk to her. They said no. By rung 5, she had been rejected 100 times. And rejection no longer scared her. By rung 7, when she made her first actual cold call for business, she was ready. She wasn't afraid. She had already been rejected 100 times. This one call was just another step on the ladder. By the end of that year, Patricia was making 30 cold calls per day. And she was making more sales than anyone on her team. Not because she was more talented, but because she had developed a tolerance to rejection. Rejection was data. Rejection was feedback. Rejection was just part of the process. This is the rejection ladder protocol. And here's the key: you're not trying to succeed on each rung. You're trying to fail. You're trying to get rejected. Because the whole point is to build tolerance through exposure. Once you've been rejected 50 times, once you've been rejected 100 times, once you've been rejected 500 times, rejection becomes nothing. It becomes background noise. It becomes irrelevant. And once rejection becomes irrelevant, you can do anything. You can ask for what you want. You can pitch your ideas. You can put yourself out there. You can take risks. You can become unstoppable. This is what separates the 1% from the 99%. The 99% are trying to avoid rejection. The 1% are trying to collect rejections. The 99% see rejection as evidence of failure. The 1% see rejection as evidence of trying. And the only way to win is to try more than everyone else. Chase the no. More rejections equal more success. Every single time. But here's what most people don't understand about rejection. The worst rejection is not the one you actually receive. The worst rejection is the one you never experience because you never tried. Think about that. The rejections you avoid are the ones that haunt you. Those are the ones that become regret. Those are the ones that, at the end of your life, you wish you had faced. How many times have you not asked for something because you were afraid of rejection? How many times have you not applied for a job because you thought you wouldn't get it? How many times have you not pitched an idea because you were afraid someone would say no? How many times have you not approached someone because you were afraid they would reject you? Add all those up. That's your rejection debt. That's the cost of your fear. That's what's actually destroying your life, not the rejections you've faced, but the rejections you've avoided. A man named Tony had an idea for a product. It was a good idea. He was convinced it would sell. But he was terrified of rejection. So he didn't launch it. He told himself he needed more time to refine it. He needed more research. He needed more certainty. 10 years went by. 10 years of planning. 10 years of avoiding rejection. And then someone else launched a similar product. And it was wildly successful. Tony watched someone else build the business he could have built. And he realized something. He wasn't afraid of failure. He was afraid of rejection. And by avoiding rejection, he had guaranteed failure. The rejections you avoid are the ones that cost you everything. The rejections you face? Those are the ones that set you free. This is the real rejection paradox. It's not that the 1% are more immune to rejection. It's that the 1% have figured out that the cost of rejection is infinitely smaller than the cost of never trying. So they face rejection. They collect it. They build tolerance. And they become unstoppable. You now understand that rejection is the byproduct of trying. You understand that rejection tolerance is built through exposure. You understand that the people who are most often rejected are the ones who succeed most. You understand that the worst rejection is the one you never face because you never tried. But here's where most people get stuck, even with this knowledge, even when they understand the rejection ladder. Even when they understand that tolerance to rejection is the path to success, they still quit. They still stop trying. They still retreat. Why? Because they're telling themselves stories. And those stories are powerful. Those stories feel like the truth. Those stories feel like reason. Those stories feel like wisdom. But they're not wisdom. They're excuses wearing the disguise of intelligence. They're avoiding wearing the disguise of caution. And the 1% have learned to recognize those stories. They've learned to see them for what they are. And they've learned to ignore them. Chapter 7. The 3 lies you tell yourself before you quit. Listen. Right now, you're telling yourself a story. You might not realize it's a story. You might think it's true. You might think it's a reason. But it's not. It's a lie. And it's the same lie that the 99% tell themselves. And every single time you tell this lie, you're choosing comfort over growth. You're choosing safety over success. You're choosing the person you are over the person you could become. The 1% know this. The 1% have heard these lies before. The 1% recognize them. And the 1% refuse to believe them. This chapter is about the 3 most dangerous lies. The 3 stories that keep people stuck. And once you recognize them, once you see them for what they are, you can choose differently. The first lie is the most popular. The first lie is the most seductive. And the first lie is completely, utterly false. The lie is, I don't have time. Everyone says this. I would do it, but I don't have time. I would start the business, but I don't have time. I would work out, but I don't have time. I would learn a new skill, but I don't have time. And it sounds reasonable. It sounds like wisdom. It sounds like you're being realistic. But it's a lie. Here's the truth. You have time. Everyone has exactly the same amount of time. Everyone has 24 hours. Everyone has 1,440 minutes. Everyone has 86,400 seconds. The difference is not how much time you have. The difference is what you prioritize. When you say you don't have time, what you're actually saying is that other things are more important. Netflix is more important. Sleep is more important. Scrolling social media is more important. Comfort is more important. The non-negotiable hour you're avoiding is less important than everything else you're doing. You have time. You have priorities. Those are not the same thing. A man named Charles said he didn't have time to work out. He was too busy. His schedule was packed. He didn't have time. And it was probably true that his schedule was packed. But here's what happened when he did a time audit. He tracked every single hour for a week. And he discovered something shocking. He was spending 3 hours per day on social media. 3 hours per day. He didn't have time to work out, but he had time to scroll through Instagram. He didn't have time to read, but he had time to watch TV. He didn't have time to work on his business, but he had time to waste. The time was there. He just hadn't prioritized it. So Charles made a different choice. He deleted social media from his phone. He unsubscribed from Netflix. He decided that his non-negotiable hour was more important than those things. And suddenly, he had time. Within 90 days, he had worked out for 90 days straight. Not because he suddenly had more time, but because he had rearranged his priorities. This is the first lie: I don't have time. And the truth is, you have time. You're just not willing to say no to other things. You're not willing to admit that comfort is more important to you right now than growth. And that's fine. That's your choice. But don't call it a lack of time. Call it what it is: prioritization. The 1% have made a different prioritization. The 1% have decided that their non-negotiable hour is non-negotiable. That means other things get sacrificed. That means sleep might suffer slightly. That means social media gets deleted. That means TV gets cut. But the non-negotiable hour stays. You don't need more time. You need different priorities. The second lie is even more insidious because it sounds like wisdom. The lie is, I'm not ready yet. You tell yourself this constantly. I'm not ready to start the business. I need one more certification. I'm not ready to make the calls. I need one more training. I'm not ready to launch. I need one more course. I'm not ready to try. I need to learn more first. And readiness never comes. It never does. Because readiness is not granted. Readiness is something that is claimed. And most people never claim it because they're waiting for someone to hand it to them. But here's how competence actually works. You don't become competent first and then take action. You take action and become competent through doing. The person who has read 10 books on public speaking but never spoken publicly is not more competent than the person who has given 10 speeches. The person who has taken 20 business courses but never started a business is no more competent than the person who has built a business without courses. Competence comes from action. Competence comes from doing. Readiness is a myth. Willingness is real. Sandra wanted to be a coach. And she waited. She got certified. She got credentialed. She took every program available. She wanted to be ready. She wanted to have all her ducks in a row. And she spent 3 years preparing. Meanwhile, someone else decided to be a coach without all the credentials. That person was terrified. That person felt unqualified. But that person started coaching anyway. That person got real clients. That person got real feedback and learned by doing. Within 2 years, the second person had more experience, more skills, and more clients than Sandra. Sandra had finally finished all her certifications. Sandra was finally ready. But by then, she had lost 2 years. Ready is not a milestone you reach. Ready is a mindset you adopt. The 1% have adopted the mindset, I am willing to be incompetent while I learn. I am willing to be bad at first. I am willing to figure it out as I go. That willingness is all you need. You don't need to be ready. You need to be willing. The third lie is the most dangerous because it's the most subtle. The lie is, I'll start tomorrow. Tomorrow is the graveyard of dreams. Tomorrow is where good intentions go to die. Tomorrow never comes. And if it does come, it comes with its own resistance, its own excuses, its own reasons to delay. Meanwhile, someone else decided to be a coach without all the credentials. That person was terrified. That person felt unqualified. But that person started coaching anyway. That person got real clients. That person got real feedback and learned by doing. Within 2 years, the second person had more experience, more skills, and more clients than Sandra. Sandra had finally finished all her certifications. Sandra was finally ready. But by then, she had lost 2 years. Ready is not a milestone you reach. Ready is a mindset you adopt. The 1% have adopted the mindset, I am willing to be incompetent while I learn. I am willing to be bad at first. I am willing to figure it out as I go. That willingness is all you need. You don't need to be ready. You need to be willing. The third lie is the most dangerous because it's the most subtle. The lie is, I'll start tomorrow. Tomorrow is the graveyard of dreams. Tomorrow is where good intentions go to die. Tomorrow never comes. And if it does come, it comes with its own resistance, its own excuses, its own reasons to delay. Chapter 8. The Compounding Effect. 90 Days to Irreversibility. Most people underestimate what they can accomplish in 90 days because they overestimate what they can do in 30 days. They think that if they do something for 30 days, they'll see a transformation. And when they don't, they quit. They think 30 days should be enough to change everything. But 30 days is just the beginning. After 30 days, your brain is still resisting. 30 days is when the work feels hard. 30 days is when you haven't yet crossed the threshold. The 1% understand the mathematics of 90 days. They understand that this is the minimum viable timeline for irreversible transformation. Not 1 month. Not 2 months. 90 days. 3 months. Because 90 days is where magic happens. Let me explain the mathematics. Every single day you take action, you build momentum. It's not linear. It's exponential. Day 1, you make 5 cold calls. You get nothing. Day 2, you make 5 calls. You get nothing. Day 3, 5 calls. Still nothing. For the first 30 days, you feel like you're not getting anywhere. But something is happening that you can't see. Your neural pathways are rewiring. Your identity is shifting. Your skill is improving. But the external results haven't manifested yet. So you quit. You look at the data, and you think, this isn't working. But you're looking at the wrong data. You're looking at results when you should be looking at consistency. And consistency does not correlate linearly with results. Consistency correlates exponentially. Here's what actually happens. Days 1 to 30, your brain is resisting. You're building habits. You're not seeing results. Days 31 to 60, your brain is adapting. You're starting to see small results. You're wondering if maybe this is working. Days 60 to 90, exponential growth. The compound effect takes over. Everything you've been putting into the world starts coming back. By day 90, you don't recognize yourself. Your confidence has skyrocketed. Your skills have sharpened. Your results have compounded. You've crossed the irreversibility threshold. You can't go back to who you were. You've proven to yourself what you're capable of. A salesman named Marcus started his cold call journey on January 1st. He committed to making 30 cold calls per day for 90 days. Days 1 to 30, he was terrible. He got rejected constantly. He got maybe 1 or 2 interested prospects. He felt like he was wasting his time. He almost quit multiple times. But he pushed through. Days 31 to 60, he was better. His rejection rate was the same, but something had changed. He no longer felt devastated by rejection. He was starting to understand what his prospects needed. He was starting to ask better questions. He got about 5 to 7 interested prospects per day. He was starting to see it might work. Days 61 to 90, exponential. His close rate had tripled. His confidence was unshakable. He had built a pipeline of prospects. He was making more sales in week 13 than he had made in the entire first month. The compound effect had kicked in. By day 91, Marcus had made 2,700 cold calls. He had generated 150 sales. He had completely transformed his results. And more importantly, he had completely transformed his identity. He was no longer afraid of cold calling. He was a cold calling machine. He had crossed the irreversibility threshold. Here's the key. Marcus could have quit on day 30. He almost did. If he had quit then, he would have made 0 progress. If he had quit on day 60, he would have seen little progress and probably would have quit anyway, thinking it was too slow. But because he pushed to day 90, because he reached the exponential phase. Everything changed. This is the magic of 90 days. This is why the 1% commit to 90 days. Because they know that the first 60 days are the sacrifice. The first 60 days are the investment. But days 60 through 90 are when the investment pays dividends. Now let me tell you about the compounding cliff. This is real. This is neurological. This is mathematical. And this is where most people fail. The compounding cliff is the moment around day 60 to day 70 when results start to accelerate exponentially. It's the moment when everything you've been working towards starts to manifest. But here's the problem. Most people have quit before the cliff. Most people have already given up. Most people have already told themselves, this isn't working. Time to try something else. So they never reach the cliff. They never see the exponential growth. They never cross the irreversibility threshold. They quit at day 55 when the cliff is just 10 days away. A woman named Jennifer wanted to build a fitness brand on social media. She committed to posting every single day for 90 days. Days 1 to 30, she posted daily. She got maybe 10 to 20 views per post. It felt pointless. She was creating content that nobody was seeing. She almost quit multiple times. Days 31 to 60, she was still getting low engagement. But something was happening behind the scenes. The algorithm was starting to recognize her. Her consistency was being rewarded. But she still wasn't seeing explosive growth. By day 55, she was considering quitting. She said, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I don't have the personality for social media. But she had made a commitment. 90 days. So she kept going. Days 61 to 70, everything changed. Her posts started getting hundreds of views. Her followers started doubling. The algorithm had fully kicked in. By day 90, she was getting thousands of views per post. She had thousands of followers. Brands for sponsorships had approached her. The cliff had arrived. The people who saw her success thought she got lucky. They thought she had an unfair advantage. But the truth is, she just pushed past day 60. She just reached the cliff that most people never reach because they quit too early. This is the compounding cliff. And it arrives around day 60 to 70 for almost everything. For fitness, the body transformation becomes visible around day 60. For business, the revenue becomes significant around day 60. For skill development, mastery becomes evident around day 60. For habit building, the behavior becomes automatic around day 60. But most people have quit by then. Most people looked at days 30 to 60 and said, this isn't working fast enough. I'm out. And they never reached the cliff. The 1% know about the cliff. The 1% know that if they push to day 60, day 70 is when the magic happens. So they push. They push through the valley. They push through the flat part of the curve. And they reach the exponential phase. This is 90 days to irreversibility. This is why the 1% commit to a minimum of 90 days. Because 90 days is enough to reach the cliff. 90 days is enough to see exponential growth. 90 days is enough to cross the threshold from I'm trying this to I'm doing this. By day 90, something fundamental has changed. It's not just your results. It's your identity. You're no longer someone who is trying to be disciplined. You're someone who is disciplined. You're no longer someone who is trying to be a writer. You're a writer. You're no longer someone who is trying to build a business. You're building a business. The identity has shifted. And that identity is permanent. Here's why. Your brain is the ultimate conservative. Your brain hates change. Your brain wants consistency. Once you've proven to your brain that you're someone who does something for 90 days straight, your brain will fight to maintain that consistency. Your brain will fight to keep that identity. If you stop after 90 days, your brain doesn't want to go back to being someone who doesn't do the thing. Your brain has adapted. Your brain has rewired. The new identity is now the default. The old identity would be changing backward. A man named David decided to wake up at 5 a.m. every single day for 90 days. Days 1 to 30, his body was fighting him. Every morning was a battle. His brain was screaming for more sleep. Days 31 to 60, it got easier. His body was adapting. His circadian rhythm was shifting. Days 61 to 90, it became automatic. He would wake up at 5 a.m. without an alarm. His brain was adapted. His identity had shifted. But here's the key. After the 90 days, David didn't go back to sleeping until 7 a.m. Because he had crossed the identity threshold, he was now someone who woke up at 5 a.m. And going backward felt wrong. Going backward felt like changing who he was. This is the power of 90 days. This is why the 1% use 90 days as their standard. Because at day 91, the change is permanent. The identity is locked in. The new version of you is the default. You now understand that 90 days is the minimum viable transformation timeline. You understand that the first 60 days are a sacrifice, and the last 30 days are a harvest. You understand that the compounding cliff arrives around day 60 to 70. You understand that if you push past the cliff, reach the exponential phase, or hit day 90, the change becomes irreversible. But here's where most people fail, even with this knowledge, even when they understand 90 days. Even when they commit to 90 days, they fail because they're trying to do it alone. They're trying to maintain consistency in isolation. And that's almost impossible. Consistency in isolation is reliant on willpower. Consistency with accountability is reliant on systems. One fails. One succeeds. And the 1% understand this. The 1% build accountability structures. The 1% don't try to transform alone. Chapter 9. Building your accountability fortress. Why going alone guarantees failure. You think you're independent. You think you're strong enough to do this alone. You think you don't need anyone else. And that belief is going to destroy you. This is the lie that keeps most people stuck. The lie that success is a solo sport. The lie that you should be able to do this without help. But the 1% don't believe that lie. The 1% are accountable. The 1% have built fortresses of accountability. And that's exactly why they succeed. They're not stronger than you. They're not more disciplined than you. They're just not trying to do it alone. Here's what's funny. We live in a culture that glorifies independence. The self-made man. The lone wolf. The person who does it all by themselves. But that's a myth. There is no such thing as a self-made person. Everyone at the top has people around them. Everyone at the top has accountability. Everyone at the top has a system that makes quitting impossible. A CEO has a board. An athlete has a coach. A high performer has an accountability partner. A successful business has investors asking questions. A successful person has mentors checking in. The illusion of independence is just that, an illusion. The reality is accountability. But most people try to do it without accountability. They try to transform alone. They try to hit their goals on their own. They try to maintain their non-negotiable hour alone. And they fail. Silently. They quit when nobody is watching. They break their commitment when nobody will know. They compromise when the pressure gets too high. This is why accountability is not a weakness. Accountability is the foundation of unstoppable progress. Let me tell you about a woman named Sarah. Sarah wanted to lose 50 pounds. She had tried before. She had lost weight. But she had always regained it. She thought she just didn't have the willpower. She thought she wasn't disciplined enough. She thought her body was working against her. But the real problem was that she was trying to do it alone. She would go to the gym. She would eat well. But when she wanted to quit, nobody was watching. When she wanted to skip a workout, nobody would know. When she wanted to eat the cake, nobody would judge her. And eventually, she would quit. So Sarah did something different. She found an accountability partner. She texted her partner every single morning, "Did I work out?" She posted her daily nutrition on a private Facebook group. She weighed in once per week and reported the numbers. She made it public. She made it tracked. She made it visible. Within 90 days, Sarah had lost 15 pounds. Within 6 months, she had lost the entire 50 pounds. Not because she suddenly had more willpower, but because she had made quitting impossible. She had built accountability. This is the paradox. The more visible you make your progress, the less willpower you need. Because visibility creates accountability. And accountability creates motivation. And motivation comes from external structure, not internal discipline. The 1% understand this. They don't rely on internal discipline. Internal discipline is finite. They rely on external structure. External structure is infinite. You can build accountability that's so strong that quitting becomes impossible. That's what they do. Now let me tell you about the 3 layers of accountability. These are the structures that make transformation irreversible. Layer 1 is public commitment. You state your goal publicly. You tell people who matter that you're doing this. You make it known. Why? Because now quitting is not private. Quitting is visible. Quitting means facing people and admitting that you quit. This alone increases completion rates by 65%. Layer 2 is measurement. You track your non-negotiable hour daily. You create a simple spreadsheet. You mark every day that you do the work. You share this spreadsheet with your accountability partner. You share the data weekly. A visual spreadsheet showing your consistency is more powerful than any motivation. Because now you can see the chain. You can see the streak. And you don't want to break the chain. Layer 3 is consequence. There is a cost for breaking the chain. Not a harsh penalty, but a real consequence. Some people donate $50 to a charity they hate if they miss a day. Some people post a public confession on social media. Some people have to text their accountability partner and admit they failed. The consequence doesn't matter. What matters is that the consequence exists. Public plus measured plus consequence equals irreversible momentum. A man named James committed to writing 1,000 words every single day for 90 days. He posted his commitment on his blog. He told everyone. That's layer 1. He created a spreadsheet tracking his daily word count and shared it with a writing partner. That's layer 2. If he missed a day, he had to donate $100 to a political campaign he strongly opposed. That's layer 3. By day 30, James had written 30,000 words. By day 60, 60,000 words. By day 90, he had a 90,000 word manuscript. Not because he was a better writer than anyone else, but because he had made quitting impossible. He had built accountability on top of himself. But the most powerful form of accountability is not a spreadsheet. It's not a consequence. It's not a public commitment. The most powerful form of accountability is an accountability partner. An accountability partner is someone at your level or above you. Someone who is also committed to growth. Someone who understands what it takes. You check in with this person weekly. 15 minutes. Non-negotiable. You report 3 things. What did you do this week? What was the resistance? What are you doing next week? That's it. You're not seeking advice. You're not seeking therapy. You're seeking a witness. An accountability partner is a mirror that reflects your commitment to yourself. When you want to quit, you talk to your accountability partner. When you hit a wall, you talk to your accountability partner. When you're struggling, you talk to your accountability partner. And that person says, "I see you. I believe in you. Keep going." And suddenly, quitting becomes harder than continuing. Michelle wanted to start a coaching business. She had the expertise. She had the skills. But she was terrified. She was going to launch solo, with no accountability. And she knew that one bad day, one moment of doubt, and she would sabotage herself. So she found an accountability partner. It was another coach who was also launching a business. Every Wednesday, at 7 p.m., they called. 15 minutes. Michelle shared what she had done, what she was struggling with, and what she planned to do next. Her partner did the same. No judgment. No fixing. Just witnessing. And something magical happened. On the days Michelle wanted to quit, she knew Wednesday was coming. She knew she would have to report to her partner. She knew she couldn't say, "I gave up." So she didn't give up. She showed up. She did the work. She made the calls. Within 90 days, Michelle had launched her business. She had her first 5 clients. She was making money. And none of it would have happened without her accountability partner. The partner didn't do the work. The partner didn't give advice. The partner just witnessed. But that witnessing made all the difference. So here's what I want you to do. Find an accountability partner. Not a friend. Not a therapist. An accountability partner. Someone who gets it. Someone who is also doing hard things. Someone who is also building. Someone who is also committed. And set up a weekly check-in. 15 minutes. Every single week. For 90 days minimum. That 15-minute call will change your life. It will make quitting exponentially harder. It will create a bond that makes it impossible to let your partner down. It will build unstoppable momentum. You cannot do this alone. Consistency in isolation is almost impossible. Consistency with accountability is inevitable. The 1% know this. The 1% have built accountability fortresses. And they win because of it. You now understand that the 1% don't try to do it alone. You understand that accountability is the foundation of transformation. You understand that public commitment, measurement, and consequence create irreversible momentum. You understand that an accountability partner is the most powerful force in the universe for making sure you keep going. But here's the thing, even with 90 days of commitment, even with accountability in place, even with all the systems and structures, there's one more thing that separates the 1% from everyone else. There's one final choice that must be made. And that choice is the moment where everything becomes real. That choice is the moment where theoretical transformation becomes actual transformation. And that choice has to be made right now. Not tomorrow. Right now. Chapter 10. The Irreversible Decision, Your Final Challenge. Everything in this audiobook has been leading to this moment. Everything. The understanding about the 1% being different. The cost of avoidance. The power of showing your work. The science of forced action. The non-negotiable hour. The rejection ladder. The lies you tell yourself. The 90 days. The accountability fortress. All of it has been leading to right now. Because understanding is worthless without action. Because knowledge is worthless without execution. Because everything you've just heard is completely useless if you don't make a decision and honor it in the next 48 hours. So this is not the end of the audiobook. This is the beginning. This is the threshold. And you're standing on it right now. You can feel it. Everything is different after this moment. You have 2 choices. You can finish this audiobook, feel inspired for a few hours, and return to exactly who you were yesterday. Or you can make a decision. An actual decision. A decision that means something. A decision that you're willing to pay a price for. Which are you? Here's the thing about decisions. A decision is not a wish. A decision is not a hope. A decision is not a thought. A decision is a commitment. It's the moment where you draw a line in the sand and say, this is non-negotiable. This is happening. No matter what. Most people never make a real decision. They make wishes. I wish I was fit. I wish I was rich. I wish I had a business. I wish I was successful. And then they act surprised when nothing changes. But wishes don't change anything. Wishes are passive. Wishes are hoping that someone else will do it for you. A decision is different. A decision is active. A decision is a commitment. A decision is, I'm doing this. Not hoping. Not wishing. Doing. The moment you make a real decision, your entire nervous system mobilizes. Your brain stops negotiating. Your resistance starts to crumble. Your future starts to shift. Because a decision is a psychological commitment. And once you've committed psychologically, your entire system works to make that true. But here's what's crucial. The decision doesn't matter if you don't honor it within 48 hours. Because 48 hours is the neurochemical window. And after that window closes, the motivation evaporates. The surge dies. And you're left with just your default mode avoidance. So the question is not whether you understand this. The question is, are you willing to make a decision and honor it within 48 hours? Let me ask you something specific. There is something you've been avoiding. You know what it is. You've known the entire time I've been talking. There's a cold call you haven't made. There's a conversation you haven't had. There's a project you haven't started. There's a business idea you haven't launched. There's a skill you haven't developed. There's something that scares you. Something you know would move you forward. Something that the 1% would do that the 99% avoids. You know what it is. Now, here's the hard part. You have to name it. You have to get specific. I'm going to make 5 cold calls this week is too vague. I'm going to launch my business is too vague. Specificity is power. Specificity is the difference between a wish and a decision. So the decision needs to be crystal clear. I'm going to make my first 5 cold calls to potential clients in the renovation industry on Wednesday at 2 p.m. That's specific. That's a decision. That's something you can either do or not do. Or maybe it's, I'm going to write my first 2,000 words of my novel tomorrow morning from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. That's specific. That's a decision. That's either happening or it's not. Or maybe it's, I'm going to have the conversation with my boss about my raise on Friday at 3 p.m. Specific. Clear. Undeniable. Your decision needs to be specific enough that there's no wiggle room. No room for interpretation. No room for excuses. Either you did it or you didn't. Now, once you've made the decision, you have 48 hours to act. 48 hours. Not a week. Not next month. 48 hours. Because within 48 hours, you're acting on the neurochemical surge. You're acting before your brain has time to manufacture new resistance. You're acting while the motivation chemicals are still flowing. And here's what's going to happen. You're going to make the calls. They're going to be awkward. You're going to fumble your words. You're going to get rejected. And your brain is going to tell you, see? This is why you shouldn't do this. But you're going to keep going. Because you made a decision. And decisions are non-negotiable. Or you're going to write. The words are going to be terrible. Your first draft is going to be garbage. You're going to judge yourself harshly. And your brain is going to tell you, this is awful. Why are you even trying? But you're going to keep writing. Because you made a decision. And decisions are non-negotiable. Or you're going to have the conversation. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to fumble your words. Your boss is going to push back. And your brain is going to tell you, see? You should have just kept quiet. But you're going to have the conversation anyway. Because you made a decision. And decisions are non-negotiable. That first action is the test. That first action is where most people fail. They make the decision. They feel the surge. They're inspired. But then the moment comes to act, and they hesitate. They negotiate. They find an excuse. And they don't do it. You're not going to do that. You're going to act within 48 hours. You're going to honor your decision. And in that moment where you act despite the fear, despite the doubt, despite the voice telling you to wait, you're going to cross a threshold. You're going to become someone different. You're going to become someone who does hard things. And then you're going to do it again. Day 2. Day 3. Day 4. By day 7, your brain is going to have adapted. The fear is going to be 80% lower. The resistance is going to have crumbled. And suddenly, what was terrifying is going to feel manageable. By day 30, you're going to have built a habit. You're going to be someone who does this thing. Your identity is going to have shifted. When people ask you, how do you make so many cold calls? You're not going to say, I don't know. I guess I'm just brave. You're going to say, I'm a cold calling guy. It's what I do. The identity has shifted. By day 60, you're going to be hitting the exponential phase. The compound effect is going to take over. Your sales are going to be multiplying. Your writing is going to be getting better at an accelerating pace. Your conversations are going to have yielded results. Everything you've been putting into the world is going to start coming back to you. By day 90, you're going to be irreversible. You're not going to go back. You're not going to quit. Because you've proven something to yourself that nobody else can tell you. You've proven that you can do hard things. You've proven that you can be in the 1%. You've proven that everything you thought was true about yourself was a lie. Here's the final truth. The person you're becoming is already waiting for you. The person who makes cold calls. The person who writes. The person who has difficult conversations. The person who does hard things. That person exists. That person is not a fantasy. That person is real. And the only difference between who you are now and who that person is a single decision. A single 48-hour period of action. A single commitment to 90 days. That person you want to become, that person is you. If you decide it, if you act on it, if you push to day 90, the 1% are not special. They're not better. They're not smarter. They're not more talented. They're just people who made a decision and honored it. They're just people who did hard things when 99% of people found excuses. And now, they're in a completely different world. They have results the 99% can't fathom. They have freedom the 99% don't experience. They have a life that the 99% can't imagine. And that can be you. But only if you decide. Only if you act. Only if you push to day 90. Only if you refuse to be part of the 99%. So the challenge is simple. This is it. This is the moment. Make a decision right now. Get specific. Write it down. Tell someone. And within 48 hours, take action. Not tomorrow. Not next week. 48 hours. The clock is ticking. Your future is waiting. The 1% are expecting you. Are you going to make the decision? Closing final words before outro. 48 hours. One decision. One action. That's all it takes to cross the threshold. That's all it takes to become someone different. That's all it takes to join the 1%. You've just heard everything you need to know. You've heard the mechanism. You've heard the protocol. You've heard the stories. You've heard the science. You've heard the truth about what separates the 1% from everyone else. Now it's your turn. The audiobook is over. The inspiration is real, but inspiration without action is just wasted emotion. The question is, what are you going to do with this? Are you going to finish this in 90 minutes and forget about it in 90 minutes? Or are you going to make a decision and honor it? Because the 1% are not waiting for perfect. The 1% are not waiting for you to be ready. The 1% are not waiting for the right time. The 1% are already moving. The 1% are already doing. The 1% are already in the 90-day window of transformation. So the question is, are you going to join them? Are you going to make a decision? Are you going to honor it in 48 hours? Are you going to push to 90 days? Are you going to become someone different? Your future is waiting. The person you want to become is waiting. Your life is waiting. Go. You've just heard the truth about what separates the 1% from everyone else. It's not luck. It's not talent. It's not money. It's a decision. It's an action. It's the willingness to do what terrifies you when everyone else is sleeping, making excuses, waiting for motivation that will never come. Your brain is screaming right now. It's telling you this is hard. It's telling you to wait, to prepare more, to find a better time. Listen to that scream. That's the signal that you're on the edge of transformation. The 1% hear that scream too. The only difference is that they move anyway. They move when they're afraid. They move when they're unprepared. They move when the voice in their head says no. And within 90 days, they become someone different. Someone unstoppable. Someone the world cannot ignore. That can be you. But only if you decide right now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel more ready, but right now in this moment. Identify your non-negotiable hour. Make your public commitment. Find your accountability partner. And take action within 48 hours. Do not be the person who finished this audiobook and did nothing. Be the person who finished this audiobook and changed everything. The choice is yours. The time is now. Your 90 days start today. Go.